Is another edition of the Rant Network Friday, noon o'clock. Noon o'clock. What great English. You know, David, I got to tell you, who's looks like he's at a wild safari with rhinos and zebras and Mickey Mouse ears. And, I'm in, one of my offices in sunny South Florida. But I got to tell you, David, I am so tired of the hypocrisy in the current administration. you know and that little first time ever black, gay, and under 5 foot spokesperson from the podium just can't answer a question you know and she is getting involved in as well the criticizing of Governor Jim Abbott. Did you know that? Because see on the podium. David, I know you got a lot to say. I see the steam being held in your ears, and you're dressed in black, so someone's going to die. Let's hear how we kill this wonderful, wonderful reaction. Let's go.
Well, Stuart, let's start from the very beginning here, okay? Let me remind everybody that back when Donald Trump was president of the United States, AOC and a whole bunch of other Democrats ran to the border, put their hands on the fence, and cried, "Oh no, oh no, those poor immigrants, the poor children, the poor migrants." And miraculously, on January 20th of 2021, the migration problem disappeared. Did you know that, Stuart? Did you know that the migration problem disappeared? Why? Because now Joseph Biden is the president of the United States. And so there's no more migration problem. None of the Democrats are running to the border. No one's crying anymore. No one's stopped. Governor Jim Abbott has been screaming for years, along with other border governors, Arizona, New Mexico, all the way across, that they're dealing with a major problem of illegal immigration, primarily from Latin America, but also that they're dealing with terrorists who are coming across the border, people with COVID coming across the border. There is nowhere to house all of these illegal immigrants that are cutting through the fences that Donald Trump tried to build anew. And I know the joke was, oh, but he wanted to send the bill to Mexico. Okay, everybody get over it. What he was trying to do was to fix a hole and again, the Democrats just simply don't care. So Governor Jim Abbott was getting very tired of criticism from Democratic mayors, Democratic governors, Democrats altogether, who love to say that there is no migration problem, that it's all in his head. So what did he do? He started busing migrants to New York, Washington, and this week, Chicago. Now, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who loves to criticize everybody but refuses to take any responsibility of her own, and loves to say how she wants to help poor people, and how she says that they're a sanctuary city, is not very happy that all of a sudden these busload of migrants are showing up at her door. Her only comment was that the fact that they put these migrants on buses and ship them in 106-degree heat is inhumane. The funny thing is, if you look at all the pictures, there's air conditioning, there's food, there's drink. They're comfortable. They're more comfortable crossing the United States than they were coming from their countries into the United States. But Lori Lightfoot's only comment is that Jim Abbott is an inhumane person. How dare he do that to the migrants? Now, there's no care, Stuart. This is what drives me crazy of the Democratic Party's hypocrisy. They say they're the party for the people. They're the party for the poor people. They're the party for the impoverished and what have you. But all they care about recently is votes, pretending they care about cutting down tuition for privileged people. But instead, the people that they're hoping to come in and vote for the Democratic Party, they don't care if they throw them under the proverbial bus. Ha, ha, ha. There's suddenly a migrant problem. Did you hear that, Stuart? New York, Washington, Chicago, sanctuary cities are declaring a migrant problem. Stuart?
Yep.
Can I call bullshit now?
You just did, and I'll follow it up with California, right? Because they all go to California. In fact, my dear cousin Ken, who had a procedure done recently, I wish him well. I know you do too as well. called me a soul ipstickick person. If you want to go Google that one, I put in our chat message. Listen, the left likes to say things the other isn't doing. In other words, it wants to blame the left, the right, for everything it's doing, right? Obama's cages at the border, right? It is Biden's concentration camp at the border, right? It's not any Republican, right? Look up that word, David. I dropped it in the chat. I got to tell you, Lori Lightfoot, the highest gun violence murder rate of our youth in the country, who wants to defund the police because her brother was a reject, a criminal, and she feels he was wronged, right? Lori Lightfoot is also a strange and very bizarre woman. But to have her and New York and everyone else now, ranting and raving about, poor Washington, poor New York City, poor Chicago. Fuck you. You know what? You deserve this and more. And I hope Governor Abbott, along with his counterparts on the border, ships them all to these sanctuary cities. And I hope the federal government doesn't set a precedent by getting involved in providing any federal aid.
Well, they will, Stuart. They will, Stuart. Of course they will. Of course they will, because these are future Democratic voters. The Republican Party wants to, if you look at what the Republican Party has asked for, was border control, proper immigration. You know what scares me, Stuart? It's not, we've been talking about this illegal migration. And a majority of the people there, the vast majority of the people there, poor, political, refugees, my heart goes out to them. The difficulties and the challenges are extraordinary for them. Those are not the people that I'm worried about. The people I'm worried about, Stuart, frankly, are the terrorists, the criminals, the drug dealers that are coming along pretending to be refugees and what have you. They're coming through the border. They're creating the problems. And yet the Democratic Party is saying there is no issue. Fentanyl is a massive problem in the United States. Terrorism is a massive fear in the United States, let alone Canada, let alone anywhere else. And yet the Democratic Party has no issue rolling the dice, dumping it. Yeah, I cannot see, I cannot hear, I don't want, right. There's no problem dumping the problem on Republican governors all along the southern border. No problem, Texas and Arizona and New Mexico. It's your problem.
David, I'm going to go down a road and get two good comments out. One, we have a famous tennis player, Djokovic, who wasn't vaccinated and was denied entry to our country. But we let in 2-3 million people at the southern border who not only haven't been vaccinated for COVID-19, more than likely haven't been vaccinated for even smallpox and other communicable diseases that are left willy-nilly into our country, unchecked, unbalanced, unrecorded. Mm-hmm. And to be brutally honest with you, I'd rather 100 or 1 million Djokovics that are trained, educated, and are going to spend money in this country than on 2 million people that may or may not be a problem for my children, your children, everyone's children. In fact, the sheer ignorance of the left for a vote, they should be prosecuted, persecuted, and held responsible. And last night was the ultimate big joke where big joker Joe Biden, President of the United States, who in my eyes, going back to our Wednesday rant, not only looked like, acted like Adolf Hitler. I'm sorry, David, I went there.
Well, listen, I know you like to go down these rabbit holes, but the truth of the matter is I'm not interested in the naming. I'm not interested in the BS. I'm just looking at, Joe Biden has refused to deal with the migration problem in the United States.
Oh, he doesn't. There is no problem.
There is no problem.
Because his handlers have told him not to go there.
Stuart,
If you're more divisive, you're going to get more votes.
do
The
you
more you
notice?
divide the country on the more issues, the more
Sure.
votes
Well,
you're
we
going
know
to get.
that. We know that. But look, let's take a look at his favorite. Like, where's his vice president, Kamala Harris? She was supposed to be the border czar,
Czar.
and
Yeah.
and she disappeared. She has not even gone to the border, because if she goes to the border, she's acknowledging a problem. That's not what the
What do you mean?
Democratic.
You mean the
She
commander in chief, the assistant who's the laughing one, the one that laughs at everything serious when she can't answer a question?
Listen, she's gone. She's completely disappeared from the screens because of that. But let's be realistic. Kamala Harris was appointed by Mr. Biden to take care of the border. She has not visited the border. She's done nothing about the border. So I applaud Governor Jim Abbott. I applaud all of these governors who are finally telling Democratic governors and mayors and politicians alike, guys, if you don't believe it, no problem. We're going to ship them to you. And if you don't think there's a problem,
Well, no,
you
no,
take
but
care of it.
that's a false statement. They're not shipping them to them. They're asking to go there.
No,
Do
no,
you want to go to New York?
no,
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 no, no, no, no,
Stuart,
no, no, no.
Stuart, regardless of what, okay, let's say that's what they said. Yes, yes, I want to go to New York, Chicago, Washington. That's
No problem. Let's go.
no problem. But the point is that Jim Abbott is shipping them on Texas dollars, not federal money, Texas dollars, shipping them to the cities that they want to take them in. No problem. Now, if you're saying you have a migration problem, stop crying. The federal government has, and the Democratic Party has used the Mexican border as an election weapon against the Republicans. They did it in 2020. They won. In 2022, when the Republicans are now turning it around and saying there's a border problem, and for 2 years or close to 2 years, the Democratic Party has said there's no problem magically, or better yet, they've ignored it. And yes, the press secretary who you discussed at the beginning of this rant has also, been denying that there's a problem. She's only spewing what the White House wants her to spew. So
Yep.
I'm just curious that over 4 years of Donald Trump in power, we went from Obama with no problem, children in cages, like you called them, the prisons, right? That didn't go on. That wasn't an issue. To Trump's jailing of children and migration problems and this and that, to suddenly there's nothing happening. And by the way, Stuart, once again, my hat's off to my friends at the liberal media, who've, along with the Democratic Party, have denied again and again there is no migration problem. There is no immigrant problem. And how dare Jim Abbott send busloads of migrants to democratic cities? It is appalling. It is inhumane. And let me use the words that Lori Lightfoot used, please, because I think that this was really fantastic. She is, quote, a man without any morals.
I got something to say. David, we talked about Texas doing this about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
We were ranting, and I went in. We should start a GoFundMe to
Hmm.
transport all these people to these wonderful cities. I'm just happy that someone listened to our idea because we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about it years ago. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. I think it's hysterical. Look, Ken Hitzik, and is another cousin of mine, but my good cousin Rupert Hitzik, who is a longtime listener, and I wish you well.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you, Rupert, to look outside your wanting to feel good and make a difference with people, and look at the impact of what that difference is doing, not only in my state and Governor Abbott's state, but in your very own state. And when you're well enough, I think you need to go back out to San Francisco and go for a drive. I think you should go out to Venice Beach and go for a drive and take a look at what your party from the 1950s and 60s, which is no longer your party, has done to your great state of California.
Hey,
And you know
Stuart.
what, David? That time, we're up. We're done.
Stuart, just let me put this last thing. I find it very interesting, the people who have commented. And I like put your political affiliations aside and your rose-colored glasses aside for just a moment and ask yourself, do we want to permit crime, drugs, terrorism to cross through the borders insecurely? Like, please, we appreciate the comments, we love you, but let's put the political feelings aside and ask ourselves, how much more danger do we want to put ourselves in? On that note, we will wish you a wonderful long weekend. Stuart and I will be back Monday for the rant. We will be back on Wednesday. We will be back on Friday. We will continue to rant every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we look forward to seeing you guys. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend.